Alright homies, it's moving day. Got the largest U-Haul we could grab with the mother's attic or grandma's attic. Oh, it's called mom's attic. And look in here, freaking packed to the brim. This is 5 years worth of having a garage space. And in here, practically empty, just that wall left. And I'm most likely gonna be painting over that thing. Sadly. But end of an era, start of a new one. This is KMR 2.0. Let's go. Just moving shops.
What is your business?
Automotive, and I'm a painter.
Oh,
artist.
Okay, iho. You fix cars?
Opo. It's not so much a service, but I do it as a passion hobby.
Oh, good for you.
And now it's just running out of space.
Yeah?
So I'm downgrading.
Oh, okay.
And then hopefully in the next couple of months, just look for a new spot, just a little smaller.
Copy of your thing.
That's
okay?
amazing. Yeah, this is 10 by 10 square.
10 by 20.
10 by 20. That's right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
You're
thank you.
a blogger?
Opo. Yes. I'll give you a card. Maybe your son might know. Tita
Josie.
Josie.
I will watch your anima.
Tita Josie. Open it up. All right. So as y'all know, we're finally getting out of this hellhole. To give you guys a bit of context, I mean, this place was cool for what it was, but just super toxic environment and ultimately the wrong move. But more on that later. So I have to get rid of my painting on the wall, clean this place up, and do one final sweep through. Make sure we bring all our tools and everything else out of this joint before they lock it again. So sad. I kind of wish we could just peel this thing off and plaster it somewhere, but we can do it again. All right. One more last look. And just like that. No more painting. A little too early for that, but it's just, where do I begin? These people I've been working under for the past 2.5 years, not even with, okay, but under. I felt like they played God in a way. Always put themselves on a pedestal. People I'm talking about is my previous landlord, where my life is a video game, and this NPC enemy just came out of nowhere and like really destroyed this level of my life. Long story short, I got into a bad relationship with this money-hungry, ego-driven, narcissistic that really made my business suffer. And of course, I'm more than self-aware enough to know that I'm where I'm at in life because of the personal decisions that I made myself. So there's no one else to blame but me, but damn man, these guys really made it tough. Okay, so about 2 years ago was when I signed the lease for this new place. And again, I didn't really need it. I already had a garage, but it was my ego always wanting to one-up myself. A bigger garage that can fit more cars, cooler, better cars that were more expensive than the previous one. An unsustainable kind of life, you know? These YouTubers, they sugarcoat a lot of the content that they release. And I mean, I'm not one to talk. I'm in no position, of course. I was one of those people. Longer story short, I'm actually out of that garage space now. I signed the termination lease a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I've just been working from home. Well, I left it for the better. First off, show season meant that I'm away from the town most of the time. And second, I never really want to see these people again. Like, don't get me wrong, some of the people under that roof were actually really cool people, and like, I wouldn't mind hanging out with them. It's just, there was always this overlooking pressure every time the landlord was there. He just completely ruins the vibe, you know? I mean, it's over now, so I can go into detail about this stuff. And even my dog and like my parents, my friends, all kind of warned me in the very beginning, but kind of just gave him the benefit of the doubt and figured, hey, this is gonna be good for the business. Everyone's gonna grow collectively. But I was hella wrong. Kind of wish it didn't really turn out this way. It's just the guy who swindled us to signing the lease really f***ed us over. And I remember clearly when it happened too. I was just doing my own thing, minding my own business at my old garage, editing a video actually, and he came out of nowhere and tried to reel me in. So think of it like this. I was talking to an NPC, but since I was editing on my computer, I was basically just pressing X as fast as I could through the dialogue and not reading what it said. I feel like this lease did not make sense, but it wasn't until like a couple of years later that life humbles me and then I see it in plain sight. You know what? Take it from me. You don't need a life-changing dramatic event to happen for you to get your butt in gear. Like, don't wait for the accident or for a loved one to leave this planet for you to wake up. You know, like, don't wait until you're super sick to go to the doctor kind of thing. Schedule regular checkups. Now, first off, I already owned a garage, so I don't even see why I needed this extra space, but the way they worded it, the amount of space they were gonna be giving me, I'd have my own storefront. Like, during the present moment, it all made sense. And also, for me as a growing entrepreneur and business owner, I just felt like it was time to expand. You know, little did I know that a pandemic was going to take place for the next 2 years. That was also one of the factors. And then when we did move into the building and I saw what kind of space I was working with, it kind of got me to thinking that maybe this wasn't the smartest choice. The space that I was paying for monthly was smaller than the amount of space that I had at my old garage, where I had like a full mezzanine and enough room in the front and downstairs in the garage area to fit like 4 to 5 cars and maybe 3 comfortably to work on. In this new place, all I was really given was the top mezzanine in the back, not even the garage, and the storefront, which I thought was cool. And then they would just let me work on my cars whenever I needed. But that wasn't the case, because whenever I needed to work on my cars, there's always either customer vehicles or a huge ass Hummer in the way that I couldn't even get started half the time. I was just being my agreeable self and working around these problems, because I'm a solution-oriented guy, okay? And I see the stress and I see the problems, but I just try to look for a solution as fast as I possibly can instead of wallowing. Sometimes you do need to just think it through, whereas I'm kind of like jump off the cliff kind of guy and build a parachute on the way down. And then for the most part, it actually ends up working out, so it's okay. I barely complained when I saw them doing something I didn't like in the garage, and I just did my own thing, man. Stuck with doing me. But this is where I was like, you know what? Maybe if I can just like work 250, 300% harder than I am right now, maybe everything will work out. It just wasn't sustainable. And this is where I found myself burning out a couple months ago, you know? It was the first time in my life where I told myself to just like take 20 steps back, and if I needed 2 to 3 days of doing absolutely nothing, I will give it to myself. Because people need that, and I don't live for weekends, I don't dread Mondays, but I also don't give myself relaxation days. I haven't for the past however long I've started this brand and YouTube channel. I was always on that mindset of creating a life that I never needed to take a vacation from. And that's possible, you know, because like I'm fortunate that the business that I created for myself is one that allows me to travel. But then when did it start going downhill? I just feel like you have to be careful who you let in your circle, you know? And if I didn't let who I thought was one of my friends into my garage space, I would not have met another set of people that kind of eventually led up into me signing for this new garage space. And it's scary, man. I thought these people only existed in movies. But no. So my fault. Coming back from a show, I was late on paying the rent for the month. And these guys just escalated it to legal matters right away. I tried to go to the garage to do some car stuff to continue my vlogs, and I was met with a default letter on the front door. Like, not even so much as a caution or a text saying, "Can you send the rent, Birdy?" These guys just decided to plaster a default notice on the front door and then change all the locks front and back so that I couldn't access my tools, my equipment, and they also locked my FRS in there. What's crazy is like only 3 or 4 days into the new month and they've already changed all the locks, installed a new door on my mezzanine so I couldn't even get up there, and also acrylic glass so that the mezzanine was completely shut in. What's crazy is like they made me pay for that shit. What kind of landlord? Like other landlords would just give me the decency of a few days late fee. But again, nope. The thing is too, with my kind of business, I mean, we make sales online, but also a majority of it comes from the events, the conventions, and the shows that I attend with our booth. And if my booth stuff is in there, like my main booth vehicle is my FRS. And it's also basically the thing that I base this whole YouTube channel around. So how am I supposed to make a living if these guys lock me out of the place that I make a living? And that was just the first time. Basically, to get in, I just had to get caught up with the rent, which I did, as well as their lawyer fees, which I did. I don't even know if that was legal of them to do that, or if it was written in the fine print, but yeah, what's scary is these guys are sneaky like that. Seriously, what's dumb is, like, the way they wrote down the lease agreement. I think they hired a student lawyer or something. I'm not one to read lease agreements. I just give them the benefit of the doubt and like trust them until they lose my trust, which they've lost my trust completely. But they had such vague phrases and wordings in their lease agreement, like as an option or if we please. We're gonna keep his stuff in there, if we please. We're gonna change all the locks, if we please. I should have really read that thing, or at least given it to my friends to read over, but it really only benefited these guys, but it was also my agreeable personality that got me into this messy situation. So I just thought they were looking out for my best interest, okay? But little did I fucking know. So eventually I found out that this sneaky landlord actually took a loan from the bank to outright buy the building, but then he used the tenants inside the building as cheap labor to really pretty it up and make it beautiful inside, and it's also more profitable and sellable now, and then charge us up the ass to run our businesses out of the place, expecting us to pay off that loan that he got from the bank within 5 years, which explains why the rent was so high. Whereas honestly, other businesses and other people, they would go the route of 10 to 15, even 20 years to pay off that loan. He expected us to do it in 5. I should have known. This guy was really trying to milk our businesses, and I feel like I was like one of the only ones really pulling in a majority of the foot traffic that went into that place. So it was a win-win for them and just super draining for me. So before they could pull the same shit on me where they lock my stuff inside, I rented a U-Haul, gathered my friends, and we tried to get all of my stuff out of there. But then this happened.
I don't take any I don't take one side or the other. I'm just here to maintain the peace and the landlord-tenant issue, okay?
Of course, I understand that, but I mean, like, he has a notice to not enter.
Before we could even take the U-Haul out, they blocked us from leaving the lot, and then they called the cops again.
So that's what's happening.
Okay, and where are those documents? Because right now I only hear like both parties talk, but I have no proof of everything. Sir, can I just speak for a second?
You can kind of even get a sense the cop was annoyed of their bullshit.
So what I'm saying is that I have no proof of that. This is my first time attending this scene. I don't know who that officer you're talking to or about. So I don't know who that is. And again, I don't know, and not that I don't believe you, but that's you telling me what the officer said, right? So at this point, that's where I'm at.
All talk, pointing fingers, and playing victim. Like he was the one that was losing out, you know?
And I don't believe that a break and enter charge, should we start investigating, which would not happen today, and nor by me, is not the right way to go with this. So that's why, you know, I can use discretion, and this is kind of why I'm pushing towards mediation versus trying to dig for criminal charges.
They looked at us as the worst tenants. Why were they making it so hard for us to get out of that place if we were such bad tenants for him? Like, it doesn't make sense, man. So we made sure the cop was there while we were trying to talk over a solution. Eventually, we agreed on terminating the lease and coming up with a termination agreement. But I really had to make sure that these wouldn't come after me for anything else. So I had to double check their termination agreement, make sure that there was nothing else hidden in the fine print. And it also said on the last dot that both parties aren't allowed to sue one another for anything. And I'm like, that wasn't even part of my plan. I wasn't even gonna sue them. But now that you bring it up, could I have sued them for something? Who knows? I feel like they wanted to rush the termination part because they were scared that I would have escalated it to legal matters on my side. Which I mean, like, I don't have time for that shit. And knowing these guys now, they're the ones that probably would have taken it to court and go full on all the way, using all the resources. Like, man, I just want out of there. Forget them and move on with the rest of my life. The worst kind of people to do business with. They're the ones that will befriend you, make it seem like everything's fine and dandy, and then they'll just milk you of all of your money and then run you to the ground and then move on to the next victim. People who I thought only existed in movies. So one thing leads to another. The money is going to the wrong place, the wrong person. It's just a snowball effect, you know? Trickle, loop downwards. And also, this is the humbling part of this whole experience, you know? Being able to look at myself in the mirror and say, you are where you are because of your own personal decisions. And you also have full control of the next actions you take moving forward. See, I want to say these past 2 years alone have tested my resolve more than any other year that I've been living during my time on this planet. And if I'm to end this with some sort of moral of the story, just learn the definition of what a narcissist is. Never ever become one yourself. And also never let one into your circle. Facts. Appreciate you guys for listening, and you know what? We can only go upward from here. I mean, you can still keep going down, but like, I'm tired of that shit, you know? I'm done. Life. We'll see you guys in the next vlog. Peace.